What's shaking, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Trance. And I would argue, despite this being a tune that is primarily written by Pablo Gargano, though on Discogs it made the point that it's by Pablo and someone named Guido. Let me see here. It says written, arranged. Oh yeah, so written, arranged, and produced by Pablo G. Shout out to one of my favorite people in the musical world ever, Pablo G. And Guido. At the Planetarium. So yeah, I think the Planetarium was Gargano's studio, I think. Regardless, this is by Pablo Gargano and a collaborator. It's Telica 5, though it is also 1997, which I say because I just reacted to the first Telica, and that was also 1997. So it goes to show, you know, not only was Eve releasing many records per year between like 96 and I think maybe even 95, but certainly like 96 and 99, they're releasing like a dozen records a year, like more. And Telica, you know, they started in 97, and by the time the year was done, there was at least 5 records. I'll have to look. I think overall there's maybe only like 11 Telicas, but obviously, you know, they started with a bang. There might be more than that, but I don't think there's 20. I think there's fewer than 20 overall, much fewer than Eve, which got up to like 40 or something, although again, like, the first 25 are the real kind of flavor that people think of when they think of Eve. After that, it did get a little more progressive. There were more guest artists where it was beyond just Pablo and David Craig. Regardless, as I said, we're going to listen to Telica number 5. The name that Pablo and Guido chose for this release is Vintage Millennium, and it's called the Vintage EP, although it's like Vint-Edge or Age EP. And we're going to listen to a tune they did called At Libium. It's funny because the other 2 tracks are definitely acid trance. Propaganda and Expanded are the other 2 tracks, and they are both acid trance. One is kind of like almost like alien environment, kind of weird acid trance. It's a really cool tune. The other one's a bit more kind of in the Eve style. It's kind of, you know, rocking with a bit of like acid touch here and there. But we're going to listen to sort of the one tune that is very different on this record. And it's called At Libium, not Ad Libium, but At Libium. And yeah, it's a melodic trance track. You know, some of the hallmarks of Pablo's production there, the kind of kick drum that you hear, and sort of the eccentric and sort of gloriously idiosyncratic sequencing, and just, you know, great production quality overall. But yeah, it's very different from his tracks on Eve. It's very different from, like, Telica started very much like Eve, and as Telica went on, it got a little bit more progressive, a little bit more progressive. This was part of that process, I would say. But yeah, this tune, it's just very different from most of Pablo's output, so I enjoy it for that reason, and it's also a good, like, kind of epic and almost melancholic. I would say there's a bit of melancholy to the tune, so let's get to it. This is Vintage Millennium, Pablo Gargano and Guido, and the tune is called At Libium. It's on Telica 5, which is from 1997. Already the 2 layers, right? There's like the string layer, very sweeping. There's that synth layer, and the chimes too. Like crystalline ice again, like, there are aspects of the percussion, it's very Pablo, but the setting is different. That like buzzing, acidic basses. Yeah, it's a calling card. Oh. As I listen to it, it's still like hard trance, but it's very melodic and epic hard trance. Elegant blend of different melodic layers, but again, with some percussive drive. Great tune to end a set with also. Although also mixing out with this layered over the incoming tune. Submarine ping. Awesome. I dig it. I dig it partially because it is, you know, just sort of an outlier in the Eve Telica sort of Venn diagram. But again, even saying that, I think there are aspects that, you know, if you know Pablo's work, if you know sort of the way he does percussion and his sort of creative sequencing and so on, then I don't think it would entirely surprise you to learn that he was involved in that tune. So yeah, bottom line, I think it's both reflective of Pablo and Eve and Telica and also distinct from a lot of that as well. So if that makes sense. But yeah, it's a cool tune. As I said, the other two tracks on the record are more like typical kind of Eve Telica hard trance with a bit like more prominent of an acid element, not just kind of like a deep bass layer, but you know, a lead and so on. But yeah, bottom line, we'll come back for those. Do let me know what you think of this. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace.